channels, let me start getting into this topic of the concerns that I've had and why Andy and I quit YouTube. Someone earlier today had said, I just subscribed and now you're quitting. Bye. Well, my darling, we're on the fence. We're on the fence on whether we should be participating in the genealogy community any further. Let me share this thought from someone I admire. He's John Deloney. He's on the Ramsey Network, and he talks a lot about mental health topics. And he talks about living a non-anxious life. But right now, I'm having a little bit of a panic attack. So I'm going to read this, and then we're going to get into the topic. Okay? So run into it. Don't run away from it. It's best if others go with you. I almost never recommend someone going alone. But know this, to truly heal from anxiety, you have to head into the fire towards the things that set off your body alarms. You have to be honest about the changes you need to make, the relationships you need to end or begin. You will probably have to clean up your finances and reconsider your work, and cannot be painful. But on the other side of pain is peace. You'll be free. You're worth the adventure. All right. So, and Gianna, Building the Non-Anxious Life. I think that's the book that you were referring to. It is a really, really good book. So let's head into some of the things I want to share with you today. I think my best approach right now is I'm probably going to go on a little bit of a monologue. I'll share a few more things on screen, and then I will take your comments and questions. So don't get mad at me. I'm going to ignore the chat for just a little bit so that I can say what has been on my heart and on my mind. Okay, so as I've said, it's with great anxiety I make this video, which is several months, probably years in coming. I will lean into the message from that podcaster who helped me. The reason why I shared it with you is because when I was in Finland, I had a panic attack. I was having trouble staying on Andy's back in the race. In the first race, I fell off, even though we qualified for the finals. When we tried to go for the bronze medal, I fell off again. And when we went to the long course section, this was my last chance to medal with my husband. And fourth place is nothing to be upset about, but it was my fault. I kept falling off. And so I was so afraid of drowning. And in many ways, this topic is a drowning topic. But I remembered John Deloney's message, and I was able to stay on his Andy's back. We didn't medal in that one. We finished fourth place, but it was the most amazing fourth place I've ever gotten. Okay. So with God's help and your grace, I'm going to talk about something that's been bothering me for several years. As I've said before, many folks have asked why Andy and I stepped away from YouTube and creating genealogical content. Well, Andy showed signs of needing to step away before I did. I just didn't quite feel it the same until the fall of last year. I couldn't force Andy to make any more videos at the cost of our marriage and our friendship. So he stepped away first, and I joined him unintentionally. I just lost the joy that came from teaching people how to climb their family tree and preserve their legacy. As many of you know, we say if family history isn't fun, you're doing it wrong. Creating videos stopped being enjoyable, so we both took a quiet break. Multiple times over this last year, I was ready to come back, and the Family History, the Write Your Family History channel saw me struggling to come back, but then I just couldn't do it anymore. I knew I would need to explain, but how can I be honest? You know, I can refer to the kids' busy schedules with band and swimming and high school and college classes, and those are true. They are time-consuming and they were challenging, but there are other reasons for our break. I can't share some of the things happening behind the scenes because they are private, even though they're very heartbreaking matters. So if you just want to throw us into prayers for the heartbreaking unknown matters, we would very much appreciate it. But let's talk about something that all of you might be aware of what's brewing on for the last 8 years. And I didn't know I needed to address it. That is until I saw genealogists turn on each other following the US presidential election. It's a repeat of some of the antics following the election of 2016 and throughout the COVID-19 lockdowns. But this year, it's worse and it's escalating. I have to breathe occasionally. I do apologize for that. So I pondered what to do and felt like I should finally speak out about why Andy and I have considered quitting YouTube and leaving the genealogy community altogether. This is hard. So let's talk about the atmosphere for the minute. There's been bullying, toxic comments, unfriending, blocking, just a whole environment where some people seem more focused on tearing others down than building up our community. And it's not just a story I've heard. I've experienced it myself, being called out for things like sticking to historical accuracy, facing judgment for my beliefs, be it religious, political, genealogical, and so forth. And even losing out on work opportunities because I won't adopt certain approved language. I've seen colleagues support smears of my character when they saw the entire conversation and didn't call out their friends for besmirching my name. What hurts worse was that I had come to these colleagues' defenses at a high cost to me personally. And this was how I was treated. If my colleagues won't care how my name is treated on their friends' lips, how can I trust them with my friendship? I pose this question. If people can't even feel free to share their values or opinions, what kind of space is the genealogical community? Moreover, is it worth our time? And here's what's especially frustrating. Do you remember the themes of Roots text over the years? How about we take a quick look? Do you notice a theme? We're all connected. Connect and belong. Discover the story of you. Choose connection. Reuniting. But it feels like too many folks in the genealogical leadership and influencing community aren't acting out these values. Contrary to common belief, genealogy is not that popular. Andy and I debunked that myth that genealogy is the second most popular hobby in the US a few years ago. In fact, a CEO stopped us once and said, "Hey, I watched that video," and it confirmed what I believed. So if genealogy is a small community, we must remember these things. We're already considered weird by our family members and people in the community. Whenever we start talking about genealogy, everybody rolls their eyes, right? If you know that you're weird, tell me you're weird in the comments. I don't want to be alone. But the genealogy community is meant to be an environment that brings people together, not one that makes us feel judged and unwelcome. Creators in the community. This toxic atmosphere hurts not just creators like Andy and me, but the entire genealogy community. When we took our break from everything, it gave me space to focus on projects I loved. But you know what else? I stopped watching all genealogy YouTube channels, listening to all genealogy podcasts, reading any genealogy blog, and I have two of my favorites in the audience, Randy and Thomas. I just needed a break. I still love you guys, so I'll be following you guys again soon. And I stopped reading emails from the company newsletters I received. I walked away, and so did Andy. Now, sometimes walking away can clear your mind and help you see the forest and the trees. And when we quit YouTube, I saw more toxicity than I realized, making it very hard for us to want to return. However, God informed me that walking away isn't a solution. I didn't start this genealogy YouTube channel for myself. I started it to help promote the spirit of Elijah as found in the Old Testament. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to the fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. As many of you may know or may soon figure out, Andy and I happen to be members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But on our two channels, do we beat you over the head with LDS doctrine? I hope you never feel that way. However, I hope you also respect the fact that I do have religious beliefs. And one of the reasons I feel called to do genealogy education is that I've always had a teacher's heart. I've always wanted to be a teacher. I've been a home educator for almost 23 years. So when the Lord said, hey, start this YouTube thing, I felt called, both because I enjoy genealogy and the connections that can be made, but I also felt the spiritual components, and it all goes back to Malachi 4, 5 through 6. If you're secular, you're welcome. If you're Latter-day Saint, you're welcome. If you're Jewish or any other religion out there, you're welcome. I hope you have and will continue to feel that way for me. And occasionally, if I share my religious views, I hope that's not a big deal, because I don't hold it against anyone, and I hope no one ever holds it against me. So God tapped into my teacher's heart and reminded me that I could help make a positive impact and help to bring to pass the positive aspects of that prophecy I shared by teaching people how to capture and preserve their family history and share it with the rising generation. I need to be here working toward that goal, but I and we can't keep letting negativity shrink our community. Oh, man. Thank you guys so much for your patience. I had a conversation with someone before I went live, and he said I could do it. And I hope that you guys are feeling like I'm doing a good job and you're receiving this message with the spirit is intended. When we let toxic community members run rampant in genealogy circles, we're hurting everyone. I remember when a company decided not to work with me because I didn't use a certain approved term. That hurt. Not only did it hurt, they didn't tell me about it until months after they had quietly stopped working with me and never even bothered to have a conversation about what was going on. That hurt. But I'm not going to say who they were. I'm not going to do that. You know, the author L.P. Hartley wrote, "The past is a foreign country. They do things differently there." Douglas Murray said, "What kind of future do we have if we destroy our past?" So I asked the question, canceling somebody over not using approved terms, that's a clear case of presentism, and I stand against presentism. I wrote about it on my blog. I have it on the Write Your Family History channel. Presentism rewrites history, and someday we're going to meet our ancestors and they're going to say, that's not how it was. So I cannot be a presentist. I have to say it is what it was. But basically, this company stopped working with me because I used a single word to refer to a historically accurate state of affairs in the life of someone I wrote about in a writing challenge. And worse, they missed the whole point of that video. I probably shouldn't get angry, but it is angering. They missed the whole point of that video. I was trying to celebrate the person and the amazing story that came from this document. And in fact, there was a topic within that video, and some of you watched that video. You know that I was like, this might be a little bit challenging. Let me know, but I'm going to say it. And then if you choose to use it, you can or you can't. But did I get any criticism over that? Nope. One word out of 1,000-word video was enough to have this company stop working with me. And for a company focused on earthing up the past, it seems a cognitive disconnect to rewrite the past that we discover. How can we learn from the past if we don't have the truth? And although they canceled their relationship with me, as I said earlier, I'm not going to seek to destroy them. Instead, I will look for other companies to support. Situations like these are a real loss, not just for me, but for everyone who could benefit from a more inclusive approach in our genealogy community. You know that word inclusive? Sometimes I'm not really a fan of it. But before we go any further, can we define our terms? I believe in defining terms. So inclusive to me, the way I'm using it, not the triggering word that actually is opposite of what the definition is. It means something broad and expansive, not excluding any of the parties or groups involved in something. Inclusive. Genealogy is broad and expansive because it documents the entire world and shouldn't exclude records of people who have lived on the earth. However, not every culture kept records. So if you feel that something's being excluded, it's not our fault. It's the people of the past or the damage that has happened over the years. We're doing our best to be inclusive simply because we're genealogists. So if the genealogy community only welcomes one narrow perspective, we're risk losing everything that makes this hobby so powerful. So what needs to change? What are the solutions to rolling back the negativity that drove Andy and myself away, making it hard to step into the path God wants me to tread? Here's my offer. If you've contributed to the toxic atmosphere, I ask you to take a good hard look at your impact on the community. I've read an unattributed quote about what genealogy is. Genealogy is like a magic mirror. Look into it, and pretty soon, interesting faces appear. Building the genealogy community with interesting faces doesn't come from cutting people off. It happens by reaching out with compassion and understanding. That doesn't mean you have to agree with every worldview. Okay? How many people in the audience agrees that pickles are disgusting? And how many of you think I'm crazy for thinking pickles are disgusting? I'm going to give you 3 more examples. I make the claim and I assert that the Texas A&M Aggies are far better than the OSU Buckeyes or the TU Longhorns. Now, does it mean I can't work with Buckeyes and Longhorns? Heck to the no! I have ancestors who are Buckeyes, and I have really good friends who are Longhorns. But if you're asking me on game day or at a swim competition, I'm pulling for the Aggies. Here's one that hits close to home. I feel homeschooling is the best option for having catered education for U.S. children. In some places, that's fighting words, but are you going to hold it against me? And here's the last one. And this one I felt for very many years. The Latter-day Saint Church is not only Christian, it's not a cult. You may disagree with me, and that's okay, but we both can do genealogy together. I like this Chinese proverb, and I did my due diligence to see if it was actually true. And it is. To forget one's ancestor is to be a brook without a source, a tree without roots. In the genealogy community, this is what we have to remember, and this is what we have to build towards. Otherwise, all those people who think we're weird are going to be right. It is weird to do genealogy research. But I know it's possible to strengthen this community. How do I know? Well, by contrast, give me a second. Whew, this is so hard. By contrast, I had another company contact me. Apparently, I did something that didn't really like because I criticized one of their new products that they were putting on out to the world. They didn't like my approach, but they handled it respectfully. They asked for a private meeting, shared their concerns, and asked how we could move forward in a positive direction. They even heard my side of things and why I did what I did. They didn't want to shut down my honest review, but they wanted to help create a positive balance between critique and toxicity. They felt I was getting too close to being hostile, if that's the right word. Help me think of the right word. But they wanted it. They wanted a balance. They didn't want to say all I needed to do is spew sunshine and roses. But there was a better way to do critique without damaging relationship. And to this day, I absolutely respect that company and go out of my way to support it. Imagine if all genealogy industry leaders and influencers took this approach. Speak privately, air out your differences, and try to build a strong path forward. Oh, I have a strong belief that the change in the genealogy community is twofold. One, it's the leaders, and two, it's the followers. One mantra that I live by is members will not go where leaders do not lead. This adage applies to members of a band, a swim team, a genealogical society, and yes, the genealogical community. I strive it in all aspects of my life, and I may fall short at times, but I cannot grow as a leader if I do not have a worthy goal to aspire to. So I commit to being the change I want to see in this world. I will try to lead where I think we all should go, and that is the direction of positivity. Here's my next solution. I don't like cancel culture. I don't necessarily believe in boycotts. Instead, I believe in the power of blessings. Can we have a blessings movement? So for all of us, let's support companies and influencers and other societies and so forth that are doing their best to keep this community positive and focused on tree building and memory keeping. For instance, if you believe in what I'm doing, help Andy and me out by engaging with our content on both our channels, our blog. Comment on them, share them, like them, subscribe. And if you disagree with some of our viewpoints, just do it respectfully. There's no reason to be hostile, but it should be no surprise that putting these videos and blog posts together is exhausting when I'm up against negativity. And I can only handle so much toxicity, and my level of handling it online is a little bit higher than Andy's. Andy doesn't tolerate it at all. He just walks away. He doesn't cut people off. When I say he walks away, he just chooses to go do something else. He walks with his feet to something else. And that's where he's been. He's doing something else. And so I'm testing the waters to see whether Andy can return to Family History Fanatics and the online toxicity that's here. So while I would ask you to support his videos, right now he's not making any. So instead, support mine. Find my research videos, including the latest ones, comment on them, share them. Let me know that what I'm doing is a benefit to the world. And as you do that, then the algorithms say, all right, that's awesome. This is somebody doing something positive. And you're doing kind of a reverse cancellation because you're blessing, right? And when people start seeing the blessing someone gets from putting positivity into the genealogy community, that's how it changes. And you don't have to lead a revolution to make it happen. It just happens. So let us remember the messages that Roots Tech has been putting out. I believe repetition is the first law of learning. And spiritually, if prophets and apostles who have a little bit of a hand in coming up with these themes, for those of you who happen to be secular, whenever they repeat something, they're trying to get a message to us. At first, I thought the initial layer was, I need to connect. I need to belong by doing genealogy research. But do you see that there's multiple layers now that we're looking back into the past and seeing the themes that they put forth? Don't know if it was actual prophecy or not, but it is worth considering and pointing out. I invite us to be the positive part of this Malachi prophecy and not the negative one. We are all feeling the curse right now of not turning our hearts to our fathers and to our children by building up a community together. So I know I've been a little bit long-winded. I'm going to get to your comments here in a moment. I have addressed the threat of the future of genealogy community as diplomatically as I can. I've opened up about my observation and my need for civility and for connection. I have proposed my solutions for curing the ills facing this community, but I want to re-emphasize 2 calls to action one more time. How about we bless rather than cancel? When you see content focusing on what matters, then support the heck out of it. Consider the viewpoints and services of other providers. If you disagree with their offerings or their opinions, I mean, heck, who remembers my video about how I hate research logs? Okay, and the battle that started. However, I won't say or claim that innovation has happened because of my complaint. But I do think Goldie May and Airtable are alternatives for creating research logs because there's so many people like me who don't like making them. And so criticism can lead to innovation. We just have to do it respectfully. So as long as we are civil and provide our evidence, we're doing what genealogy is all about. We're living into the genealogy's proof standards. If you share the same opinion about content creators who are putting good into the world, then subscribe and follow and support and let them know that they are doing a good job. Bless those who are worth blessing and ignore the ones who maybe it's an unintended cancel, but it's not an active cancellation. I hope that makes sense. If you feel like that's making sense, please let me know in the comments. And finally, do your part to promote a culture of acceptance and curiosity. Remember, everyone in this space brings a different story. Our differences are what makes family history rich and compelling. And as a friend asked me to share, we're all a big family. We're all so different, but the difference makes it better. The more in perspectives we include, the stronger our shared understanding becomes. I know this to be true as I've traveled to China, Taiwan, Finland, Chile, Denmark, the Netherlands, Germany, and I know I'm forgetting other countries too, but also throughout the various places in the United States. Guys, we're not all the same. We're not monolithic. After visiting one particular museum in Denmark, I learned how much some Danes dislike their Russian counterparts. I had no idea. But after understanding a brief history of Denmark, I completely understand the hostility. And so now I want to go tour Russia to get the other side of the story. I had a similar experience while visiting a Finnish air museum and a monastery. Their perspective on foreign relations is incredibly eye opening. After visiting China, I realized, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this. I realized there are many things that country and its cultures get right that I wish we had and did in the United States. Shocking, I know. And yet I'm grateful for many things that are available in America. A balance. If we can appreciate the different worldviews and perspectives when we travel to other countries, why can't we do the same in the genealogical community? So, in short, support the people who are building the community and be a community builder yourself. With your grace, I will hope that you appreciated the motivational messages that I've shared thus far. And as I wrap up, I have two final ones. How great, how glorious, how complete redemption's grand design, where justice, love, and mercy meet in harmony divine. Now you may suppose that is foolishness in me, but behold, I say unto you that by small and simple things are great things brought to pass, and small means in many instances doth confound the wise. The two acts I shared are small and simple things. Bless and be the change you want to see in the community. But they ultimately ask for you to create divine harmony by leveraging justice, love, and mercy, the ultimate community building trifecta. Let us work together as a genealogy community that's supportive, respectful, and genuinely connected. It's a lonely enough hobby as it is, but it's more enjoyable as a community. Those are my thoughts right now, and I see 1.5 million comments. I'm going to go ahead and take a moment to scroll through some of them. If you appreciated the message I share, I ask you now to share it with others. Leave comments that are committing to bless and not cancel, and to be positive in the community. Oh, thank you, Nadine. Okay, I won't let people ruin the channel. Oh, speaking of that, there was one time I made a video, and in the video, I told people, hey, there is a sensitive word that I'm going to use. And I'm going to tell you, this isn't the one related to the company. It's a different topic. But in the comments, there was some people who were really upset that I used the word illegitimate. Okay. I used the word illegitimate because it appeared in the records. And my community, you guys are amazing. There was one time somebody just wanted to wring me over the coals for how dare I use that word, even though it's a historically accurate term, and I didn't use it with shame. I just used it. It is what it was. I mean, when you look at a Spanish baptismal record and it says illegitimo, what else do you use? And my community shut that down and said, no, you're not going to besmirch her character. She already told you, yes, some people today may find that word to be culturally insensitive, but you're not going to attack her character because she told you at the onset she was going to use a historically accurate term. But when you write the family history, here's the kicker. When you actually write it and put it in your family tree, you can be a more sensitive. Okay, so this goes back to the presentism topic. I tell everyone you can't look at history through our eyes, but through their eyes. I couldn't agree more. So, Katrina, if you haven't watched the presentism video, I believe I linked it in both the Family History Fanatics and the Right of Family History description. Could you go watch that video and share that comment a lot? That would be really great. I'd really like that video to get a little more traction. If you can't find it, you should be able to email me if you're on my mailing list. If not, go to the familyhistoryfanatics.com website, find the contact form, send me an email. I'll send you a direct link. So success is the best revenge. And to be successful, let us bless one another. That's my request. Bless the people that you want to rise. The rising ship analogy, bless those who are contributing positively. All right. So many great comments. Thank you all for watching. I know some of you have been here since the beginning. Genealogy brings me so much joy, as it should, because of the spirit of Elijah and how it connects our community. Now, here's a question for Leanne, simply because you brought it up. You said that you are an atheist. Are you offended by the spiritual undercurrent for some of us to do genealogy research? I want to know. Okay. Because the spirit of Elijah is the motivating driver behind me, and it brings me a lot of joy. And when I want to give up on that pesky relative that I can't find or figure out, the spirit of Elijah just says, hey, stick with it. So I'd be interested to hear and I'm not just calling out Leanne. She's just the one who said that she had a non-religious viewpoint. But let's have that discussion. If anybody wants to join in, you're welcome to. Okay. Is there a way to encourage people to disagree, to express it? Okay. I don't know how to encourage people to do it, but I can tell you how to do it. Again, I'm going to go back to the research logs. I dislike research logs. I think their time suck, and I would much rather have my research log process happen within. We've got another channel member. Hey, Adam, thank you so much for becoming a channel member. Sorry about that little squirrel moment there. So I had a number of people come and say, hey, Devin, I can understand why you feel that research slides are time suck, but let me tell you my experience of I've gone through genealogy research, and then I keep retracing over and over again, and here's the value of a genealogy research log. And I said, sure, that's fair. But what do you say about having the research log and a research report, or citing your sources, both successful and unsuccessful, in online trees and genealogy databases and stuff, and research where you're actively in, instead of making a separate research log? That's my problem, the separatist nature of the research log. And we went back and forth, and it was respectful. Well, I disagree. I think this points matter. And I thought, well, what about this? And eventually, here's some cool things that are happening. Like Roots Magic, Renee, Roots Magic is so close to having their task lists become the easiest research log in the genealogy software program ever. It is so close to take the task and convert them into a research log. But the printout is my problem on Roots Magic, right? The printout, it doesn't really come out the way I want it to. And I don't know how to do customer support, but that's a conversation maybe I can have with Bruce and say, this is what I would like it to do. And hopefully other people say, yay. And then we have this innovation. We're in the genealogy software, right? We're creating cited genealogy group sheets. We're syncing things between different websites, sort of. That's another video that's coming out soon. And then we have a task list. We're keeping that out. We're keeping our notes. We're doing like one program to rule them all is my dream, right? But if we don't have respectful disagreements, then innovators like Roots Magic or Goldie May or Family Tree Maker or even Gramps, and there was another one, Excel to GEDCOM. That was a weird tool that I tried out recently to convert my spreadsheet into a GEDCOM file. Solutions don't come unless people start having healthy discussion about things that are frustrating, but we just have to do it respectfully. And then I guess the other thing is, in the genealogy space, can we just leave our politics at the door? When we come here, we're coming to talk about genealogy. The only time we're going to talk about politics is when we go into my one favorite resource, which is newspapers, and we say, oh, my ancestor was part of this party or that party. But it's a global society. So one party is going to be a Whig from the places that still have the Whig and Tory parties. Show my little world geography ignorance there. But when you bump into it, you're like, oh, I wonder what their views were. And then you learn more about that view, right? And then you come to know your ancestor better without judgment. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. I'm agnostic and I'm not offended by spiritual overtones. You're always respectful towards other viewpoints. Absolutely. Let's talk about something. Okay. So I had a Jewish colleague and she had a disagreement with me about how I referred to a collection. She came on Twitter. I know it really is called X now. I won't talk about that. She reached out to me in a DM in X, and we started having a conversation. And I asked a number of questions, like uh, explain to me what the problem is. Oh, okay, that makes sense. And then she let me ask multiple questions back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I finally came to a situation where I understood her perspective. There's certain times when, if I'm going to talk about church records, she's invited me. Can you say religious records if you're going to include Jewish records? And then if you just mean like evangelical, Protestant, Catholic, whatever church records. And so I was like, oh, since you explained all of that to me, let me take that into consideration. And yet, if I mess up, she doesn't care. It's great. I don't know. I don't know why the negativity carries so much weight in our mind, which is why I'm inviting us all to choose to bless, right? Because for every negative comment that a person trying to put good into the world receives, if they're not getting positive, it's really hard to keep going. And so it's a plea for me. It's a plea for my other colleagues who haven't spoken up.